We have a lovely time. Like, that's what we want, right? Like, isn't, to me, the experience is trumps everything else. And it, maybe I'll get it right on my second time through coaching my daughters and I'll win everything. But, I'm joking about getting it right. But that to me is horrible. If you went to skate for a junior team and the girls talked crap about you in the room because you're from, like, how does a coach, and don't tell me the coach doesn't know. The coach knows, because he or she has created that culture. That's okay. I would lose my mind on my players if I heard they did that.
I have one of my daughters played lower level soccer, but she was very creative. So she made the top team.
Mm-hmm.
And all these girls have played together forever, right? So this is probably grade 9 or something, and she makes the top team. It wasn't school soccer, but the girls actually screamed at her every time she touched the ball. They had her like in a absolutely panic state the whole time, and I had to let her quit the team because it was just a terrible, terrible experience. The last time she ever played a sport. So
that's a coach problem.
That can happen, eh?
That's a coach problem. I actually don't blame the players. What's the quote? What you allow, you promote. If you let it happen as a coach, you might as well. We players, we're jerks. Like,
I know. I'd watch him, and then she'd be on the side and sitting away from all the players, so she didn't have to be near them, eh? And he would hear it and not say one word, and it was just unbelievable.
That's ridiculous.
Well, the fact that's occurring, boy, that's what we've got to try to make better. And Kim, I'm just so glad you're doing it. Kim, you were going to comment on something there?
Yeah, thanks, Wally. We talk a lot about Kim. I don't know if you heard the term before, but EBIs, even better ifs, when we're talking about drills and stuff like that. And as you're going through all that about not listing your commitments on your lineup, which I totally applaud, and I really applaud the focus on like the team accomplishments instead of making it about the individuals. So something to think about. Would it be an EBI if instead of acknowledging Wally's commitment to Cornell in front of the whole team, would it be better for you just to have a one-on-one with Wally and say, hey, I heard you committed to Cornell. Great job. Because in essence, are you not doing the same thing by acknowledging it in front of the group? Are you spotlighting Tom in the corner who's desperate to get a commitment but doesn't have one? And even if it's in a passing moment, but maybe Tom doesn't feel too good in that moment. So just, again.
No, that's a great point of clarification. I should have, I do it at the end of the year. Sorry, I don't do it like as they come in. Because I have players who commit in grade 10, right? So then there's also like, well, she committed 3 years ago. So like, what do you do? Celebrate her every year? No, but we do it at the end. Once they've accepted their, all my players have accepted their next step. I've never had a player not go on to attend university out of our program. I guess if I had a player who maybe wasn't looking to pursue a post-secondary education, I might figure out that differently, but we would kind of do a team thing where, Sally's going to Western, and I wouldn't say she's playing hockey or not playing hockey, right? But she's attending Western. I always tell my players, you can walk on anywhere if you trust yourself and you're good enough. So just because you got a doesn't mean you're actually going to be playing for Harvard if you sit on the couch and eat Cheetos all summer. So, yeah, that's the way I do it. Sorry, I should have. I do absolutely say to them individually, like, that's great. And I'm usually pretty involved in the process. So they'll text me usually right after they commit.
I've got a deeper philosophical approach. And Al Andrews instituted at Novice. Everybody's got a dream goal. And it may be a scholarship. And my dream goal was the same as yours, Kim. Play with the national men's team. Now, I was the first cut. I never got to go to the Olympics. And you went through the same environment. And in the end of the day, what you get and I got out of that experience, we're putting it to good use. And I've shared this quotation from the poem Rabbi Ben Ezra by, I'm not sure if it's Wordsworth or Wordsworth, but what I've tried to do and failed to do comforts me. And that was the end of a convocation address at the University of Saskatchewan when I happened to walk in the gym when it was going on and heard it. And that resonated with me. And exactly what you're doing, they all want dream goals. But what they become in the end as a person and do what they do when they're done hockey, with their families, with their communities, is more important than, I played and got a gold medal. So the Wickenheiser quotation that she borrowed from my office desk was, a gold medal is a wonderful thing, but if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it. And those are the things where, you bringing up that issue, posting it, not posting it, it's an ego trip for the association, an ego trip for the coach and the team and the player that does them harm. It does everyone harm. And so managing it in a way like Tim suggested is good. But the bottom line of a coach, however you choose to do it, is everybody should have a dream goal. But what you're learning here is going to teach you to accomplish a goal in life that's going to pay off for you and make you a better person. And that's sort of the essence of the rationale of why they play. Yeah, they want to get a scholarship. Yeah, they want to play in the NHL. Yeah, they want to get on the Olympic team. But having perspective in so doing whatever you do, that's the job of the coach, the parents, the leadership group adult leadership group of the association. So
but
I'm
I
glad.
also think, Wally, one thing that I toy with how to do this is girls hockey, and it's certainly not just my 15 to 20-year-olds, but women aren't great at owning their accomplishments and celebrating them because of their worries about jealousy. Again, I can't speak. I'm not a male. I don't coach on the male side. So I toe that line a little bit of, should we maybe be saying, hey, like I did something great, like me, I did that, and celebrating each other for that, because I find as women, we don't do that because we're worried about someone saying, oh, she thinks she's so great. And, I've actually experienced that quite a bit since COVID hit, because my business exploded and I've done extremely well since COVID hit. And I'm proud I did that. Like, I'm a business of one, and I've like hit a home run like again and again and again and again since like 2 days after it happened. And in the beginning, it struck me like I was actually nervous about like saying anything about that and being like, hey, this worldwide pandemic hit and my business exploded as a result, because I did it. I did all of it.
Yeah.
But I actually found it very interesting because there's a bit of that culture of like, woe is me, this is so hard, la, 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 la. And I found myself going like, should I say? Because people would see me in the, because I drive an orange truck with my logo all over it. Everyone knows who I am. So people would see me and say, oh, like, how are you doing? People I don't even know. They just assume, hockey's shut down, therefore you must be struggling. Must be horrible. And then I'm like, wait, how do I manage this social situation? Because they're expecting me to say one thing of like, oh yeah, it's so hard, this sucks. Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know, I train people out of my yellow garage and like, I may never go on the ice again. This is so profitable. But if you say that as a female in front of other females in this type of environment, what kind of reaction are you going to get? So I think it's part of my job as a role model to stand up and say, I did it all on my own volition. I created it 100% by myself, and look at me. And now I have the confidence, and if people want to attack me and be like, oh, Kim's bragging, I don't really care. Yeah. But I do think it's important for my players to see that and to see a bit of that in themselves. To go, you know what? I did commit to Waterloo to study biochemistry. Yeah. And I should be not necessarily going out and telling everyone, but they're so underconfident in themselves and so self-deprecating that I'd love them to be like, yeah, I did it, and high-fiving all their teammates. I think that would be amazing because you just don't see enough of it with women. And I think if I'm 41, and I mean, I'm sure you guys will chuckle, like I'm a pretty confident person. And I've always been like this. If I'm even thinking like, oh, should I post that I knocked it out of the park, or should I tell this random person that I'm actually doing phenomenal? Like if I'm having those thoughts, what's my 16-year-old player having thoughts about? So I do think it is a little different with the girls. You have to find that balance of getting them to celebrate their success without being worried that they're going to get attacked for it. And even if they do get attacked for it, being okay with that. I think that's a larger life issue. It has nothing to do with hockey.
So there's a very fine line, though, of course, because generally speaking, there's a great dearth or scarcity of humility in the world, especially at this particular time. So the short answer for me, or the short response for me, or my short reaction was, please don't encourage the girls to do that, because that's sort of being like a guy, and girls bring the humility piece in a much better, more effective, and really more genuine and useful way than guys do. And we're speaking generalities. Yeah. But I do see the point, and I do agree with the point that there's, like I'm saying, there's a fine line. You need to be able to find the place where you can say, yeah, I did this, I'm proud of this, but that doesn't make me special. It's like, hey, thank you to my teammates for helping me get there. I couldn't have done it without you. There's a way to do it without going the orange-haired way to beat that thing to death. So I agree, but there's a fine line, and we need to be careful about how it rolls out, I guess.
For sure. I just think confidence, it's like Mel always said at every Hockey Canada camp, right? If I could just take a little gift of confidence and hang it to every player, I would. I mean, if I could do that, I'd be a billionaire. Just hand out confidence, little gifts, and people would all of a sudden be more confident, right? So it's taking that ownership of what you've accomplished, whether big or small. I really find girls have a challenge with. And again, when I have coached boys, which hasn't been for a long time, they score 1 goal in house league and they walk around like they're Connor McDavid. Yeah. Generally, again, we're making a sweeping generalization, right? So I see a little bit more of that in the girls.
It's a little difficult talking girls, guys, hockey. But I'm going to throw something at you. I celebrate losing.
I celebrate learning.
Well, that's what I'm saying. By celebrating losing and sharing it, the mentality of learning is why you might get a scholarship, you might not. Learn from it, but don't let it beat you up, because the lessons you're getting are going to carry you for the rest of your life. And what you're doing with your girls, and the fact that kids come in from other associations and are practicing with them, and the praise that, of how they get along, that's more important than any championship you might win. And you'll likely win fewer championships with that kind of a mentality. And that history's shown that the greatest long-term achieving coaches have had an ethical philosophy of coaching, not a mismanagement of behavior, an entitlement philosophy of coaching, but not aware, like Tom's coach, his daughter being on the team, quitting sport for her life. Like that's why it's great your business is going good. And this is my suggested challenge to you. How many girls different girls, numbers, would you say you touch online?
Ooh,
Total
over
amount.
this. Well, I kind of shut it down a bit at the end of August. I would say, I mean, I know how many customers I had. I had 350 different people attend my camps.
So
That was just paying customers who bought a spot in my online camp.
yeah.
You know, I offered a lot of free stuff through my website, but those are just the people who put, you know, the money on the table. Yeah.
Here's my suggestion. You're in front of them. You have 5-10 minutes, and I watch it. Technically outstanding stuff. They're buying into it. They're going to become better shooters, better skaters. But incorporate some thought about the life skills they're learning, the goals they're trying to achieve. And it's so important that you strive for them and good on them, because they're investing money to get better. But don't lose perspective in that process, because they may be playing for parents and coaches who are double shifting them wherever they are. And you can influence them a little bit on the perspective side of coaching, so they'll be better team players and happier players, whether they achieve their goals or not. And I don't know how long it would take and how subtle it has to be, but at some way at the beginning of every session and at the end of every session. And Alan Andrews said it best to me. He says, you have a dream goal, but you need a goal after you're done.
Yeah, well, we would do, I would have them do a breathing exercise at the beginning of every session, just to get them like in the moment. And we would do that together. And then during that exercise, I would give them a quote of the day, because I love quotes. And it was always, you know, something motivational like that. The really cool thing about the Zoom stuff was I did have some high level players, but I had a lot of house league, a lot of older women who would never come to one of my camps. I had a lot of like novice and Adam who come to my camps, but not in as big numbers, because I have a whole spectrum of ages on the ice. So it tends to swing a little older. So I all of a sudden was in front of live a lot of an audience that I normally never get in front of. And to get the feedback from the parents and even the women, I had a 57-year-old do a bunch of my classes on shooting and stuff. So the feedback from them was really great, because the big thing was they didn't normally feel like they had access to me, because my camps I run tend to be, you know, peewee, bantam, midget, double B and above generally, right? And so that was really cool to see, and it did change a little bit my messaging, right? You know, whereas I had other groups that were 5 or 6 players of maybe all my own players, or a midget double A or a bantam double A, that definitely had a different motivational tack. And to your point, Wally, kind of the sentiment of what you did to get here isn't enough to get you to the next level, like that kind of vibe to it, like you got to do more to be more type of thing. But for the camps that had this, you know, wide range of ages and abilities, I kind of stuck with the motivational quote side of it, and got them going, because I wasn't as sure of my audience, right? So I didn't want to, hey, if you want to make the Olympic team, like the 57-year-olds, like, I mean, that would be great, but I'm probably not going to make, you know. So in the absence of knowing my audience, I kept it a bit more general. But I agree. I've been told that that's probably one of the best gifts I have, is my ability to motivate people. And so I try to share that as much as I can, but I do think sometimes I lose that within all the content, you know, the actual stuff, the inspiration.
The Dave in the leadership, Ivy School leadership, everybody that signs up for you, why? They signed up. They paid money. They got online. They're there face to face. and understanding why they did it in terms of kudos to them, to the 57-year-old, to the young child, and appreciate why they're doing it, for what purpose, and realizing that, you know, you might not accomplish your end goal if it's really high, but if it's just having more fun, it's going to help you. So that piece is, it is the demise of sports, minor sports. And, you know, talking about Tom and his daughter in the soccer, I'm sad to hear that, because to me, that's criminal. It's not wrong, it's criminal that players would treat each other like that, and a coach wouldn't be able to recognize that that's going on and it needs to be addressed. So we have to educate coaches to address those things, give them those tools. And I'm glad we went this direction. So it's really good.
I just wanted to go back and touch on. Have you read the Confidence Code, Kim?
No, it's one of the few I haven't. I'm going, it's on my list.
Go get it tomorrow and read it. It's mandatory reading for every female athlete and everybody who deals with female athletes, because it touches on exactly what you're saying. But I just wanted to touch back again, because I think it's really important that no one